76ers is they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on
And welcome in. It's in-game live game day on a marvelous Monday evening. Scott Wetzel, Joe Madden sitting in for Dave Sherapan as we take you over the next two glorious hours right up until 10 p.m. Eastern time, watching betting in the world of sports. A little bit of college basketball. So we got two more automatic bids, Joe, to the NCAA tournament, being one tonight in the Sun Belt and in the Southern Conference. They're both going on right now. Bunch of other conference tournaments continuing tonight. We got some NBA. We got the LeBron-less Lakers in action tonight. We got the Celtics in action. We got only 4 hockey games, but enough to put a couple of shekels on for sure. So what's on your plate? What's all our SGPs and Black Clouds and everything else that we normally do? So what's going on tonight, Joe? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Happy Monday to you and to everyone else. Those Lakers without LeBron on the court are actually up right now over the Brooklyn Nets, Scott. Not sure if you're seeing that, up 24-13. And we did have a fast start out of the Buffalo Sabres versus the Edmonton Oilers, leading 1-0 going into that second period. So great games out there on the hardwood and ice tonight. Definitely excited for today's show. How are you doing today?
Good. Here's the sucker line of the night. I'll throw it out there. It's in the NHL for me. Ottawa has gone over 11 of their last 12. 11-1 over, right? They're taking on a Detroit team that's, mediocre, can score, not exactly, shut the opponent down type of team. And the over-under, Joe, was 5.5. They're midway through the first period, no score. I don't know why that wasn't 6.5. I mean, that had 6.5, screaming at you. 11-1 over. They're at home. It's not even like they're on the road. You watch this dopey game go under tonight.
I think it will, Scott. You look at this battle here, Battle of the Atlantic, and this game is pivotal for the playoff runs for both of these teams. If the Ottawa Senators win this one, they'll be 5 points ahead of the Detroit Red Wings, who are sitting 5th in the Atlantic, 4th in the Atlantic here for the Senators. The playoff race is so tight there. Both of these teams hoping to make it. They've only got one more head-to-head matchup. I think this one stays low scoring out there. The 5.5, it's minus 156 now to that under. I took the under going into this. I just couldn't see it being higher scoring. I am nervous for that third period, though, Scott. We know how fast both of these teams can put those goals up on the board.
Yeah, I don't know. You got Detroit, by the way, is 7-3 over their last 10. So we have two teams that are a combined 18-4 over, and they're giving you 5. I'm telling you, White, this has got 2-1 written all over it. It's just that is sports. Meanwhile, you got Edmonton losing again, Joe. I mean, I did play them in regulation. I still think they're a pretty good bet, down 1-0 after one. It's pick 'em basically now is like minus 25. I think I got a minus 125, 130 for them to win in regulation. They've lost, Buffalo's lost 6 straight. Edmonton's lost 4 straight, 1 and 4 of the last 5 road games. They've been struggling since, the Nations 4 tournament, the All-Star break, if you will. But I figured for sure they're going to win tonight against Buffalo, right?
I don't know, Scott. You look at this Edmonton team, they're so up and down. They have their struggles. First game of a road trip here, off of that game versus Dallas. And on this road trip, they have the Devils on Thursday and the Islanders on Friday. So they've got a back-to-back loading here. They're coming in to a team sitting last in the Atlantic, thinking this is going to be an easy game. But this Buffalo team has dominated versus Edmonton, winning 5 of the last 7 matchups. Home ice has been pivotal between these two, with the home team winning 6 of the last 8. I took a shot on the Buffalo Sabres straight up on that money line. Now, I wanted more plus money. I was hoping to put another unit on Buffalo if Edmonton went up first. That didn't happen. So I got them at plus 158 coming into this one. I took Tage Thompson and Josh Norris to combine for their points in a same game like player prop parlay. That was coming in at plus 146, and Tage already got the goal, so he's got a point out there. But I do think you can still jump in on Tage and Josh Norris for another point. I think those points are coming between both of them.
All right. You mentioned some NBA there. You got a bunch of games tonight. Philadelphia's taking on the Hawks. At end of one, typical high-scoring Atlanta game, 33-31. Laying 8.5. It wasn't really comfortable, doing that. That's just to me an ugly game. Your Raptors, Toronto, hosting Washington, tied at 25, late first quarter. Again, ugly game. You mentioned the Lakers. I didn't want to lay the 6.5, but I certainly wasn't going to take Brooklyn, Joe. And you mentioned it. Lakers off to a good start, 28-16. No LeBron. I'm sure Luka's going to go off tonight, right? How many points does Luka have already? I bet he goes for 40 tonight. Or if he doesn't, then it's because he's not because he's not trying, unless he's not playing. I don't see it. Oh, there he is. He's got 6. They're giving you 25. You know what? If Brooklyn stays somewhat competitive and he's got to stay in the game, he's going to get 25 points. Without LeBron playing, I know he's kind of been up and down, but you know what? I like that a lot. I'm going to put that in right now. Give me Luka over 25.5 points. He's got 6 already through in the first quarter.
Yeah, I like where you're going there. I took the under in that game. Now you've lost the best of the number. It was right around 216. It's now 205.5. So I'm going to stay off of that. Between the Washington Wizards and the Toronto Raptors, I just don't trust the Raptors laying points, even though they've been strong at covering those points at home. It's just a hard team to back, and I know they've been having some strong games as of late, but laying 6.5, you're still getting that number here as they lead this only by 1 point, 28-27. So I wasn't willing to touch that, but I did think the Wizards would help us with that total. Now we've got a live total of 236.5. It is minus 118 to the over, and this has ticked up about 4 points. It was right around that 232 mark going into this game, so I do think you can still jump on it. I'm expecting right around that 240 mark for points, and then the Hawks versus the 76ers. Same with this. We've actually seen the total drop, but you look at the Hawks, you look at their ability to hit those baskets from deep, and I do think even the 76ers will be able to get some nice points on the board, and we should be able to go over the live total of 230.5. This one was sitting right around 236, so we have seen that total drop. The Oilers just put a goal on the board, Scott.
There you go. There you go, Edmonton. Nice. Now so if you grabbed them before, it was basically even minus 102, 103, right? So we'll just call it even. Now you get to grab Buffalo plus the 154. And you got yourself a 54, cents middle. Basically a free bet on Buffalo to win 50 cents on your to win 50 cents. Clear. Yeah. Or you could bet Buffalo a little bit less. This way you'd win less on Buffalo, but then if Edmonton ended up winning, you could win money that way as well. So, all right. I think Edmonton's still going to win. Buffalo's lost 6 in a row. They're done. There's probably a championship for them. I get that, but Edmonton's at least won 2 in a row. They turned things around here a little bit. I think they get the win. I wouldn't lay 2-1, but if you did it before, you're sitting pretty there. Still no goal. Ottawa, Detroit. Now it's down to 4.5.
Wow.
Now you get plus odds under 4.5 versus laying big odds at 5.5. But
Tempting.
I would. You watch this game go 2-1 under. 2-1. Something really ridiculous like that. So
Can we get 2-1 in OT, Scott? Because I do have the overtime bet in this game. I would love to see it go to overtime. It's a pivotal game here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, from here on out, whether it's New Jersey, whether it's Ottawa, whether it's Detroit, Columbus, the Rangers, who got walloped yesterday, when we were on the air doing the game, 7-3, they end up losing that game. What a horrible weekend it was for the Rangers. They blow a 3-1 third period lead against Ottawa, Joe. Then they go back home and lose to Columbus. Oh, and not only did they lose, they get buried 7-3. Just horrible. So, all right, just getting underway. Hour number 1. We got NBA, we got college basketball, we got hockey, Black Clouds, STPs. We got it all here on the grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the grid. Scott and Joe just getting underway. Looking at a little NBA, little hockey, little college basketball. Hour number 1. Potential upset happening here. I know people love these small conference tournaments, and I've never been like a huge fan, but okay, I follow some of them, Joe. And I think most people kind of latch on to the last place team, running through the gauntlet and stealing an NCAA bid. But when you really look at it, it really doesn't happen that often. They may win a game or two, but really generally you get the number 1 or number 2 seeds that win these smaller conference tournaments. Bigger conferences, not as much. So anyway, I say all that just because in the Colonial, Delaware is leading Towson 74-68. Towson won the regular season. It's actually Coastal now, not Colonial anymore, but Coastal Athletic Association. They won it, hands down. They were the best team by far, 16-2. The next best team was UNC Wilmington, which plays later on tonight. They were 14-4, and they're losing to a Delaware team in the final seconds. Delaware was 5-13, 15-19, and yet they're leading by 6 with under a minute left. Wow, that would be – now, Towson's not going to – they wouldn't have gotten in that large bid, so they're not stealing a bid. This is a one-bid conference regardless, but this is one of those situations where the number 1 seed, it probably is going to lose here to a lesser, team in the conference.
Yeah, they absolutely are. 55 seconds left, 74-68, Scott. It'll be interesting to see how this last minute plays out and if Towson's able to get something done, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Delaware, and they would have been a nice dog prize today if you did jump in on them. I didn't expect this kind of outcome in this matchup. And then we do have Troy hanging pretty tight with Arkansas State. That was one I looked at where I thought maybe Troy would be able to push Arkansas State in this one, keep it tight, and have the chance of getting the upset win. Now they're down 2 points, so you're getting them pretty close to what that original number was. I believe I got them at right around plus 126. They're plus 146 right now on the money line. Do you have any faith that Troy can upset Arkansas State today?
Yeah, I kind of like Troy. It's basically it was a pick'em game. It was pretty evenly matched 2 teams. So I played them the other day. I forget who it was against, and I hit that one. So that's the Sun Belt Championship. That's the other one. We got the Southern Conference and in the Sun Belt. I actually like Troy, in the game. So I have no problem doubling down, going back to them. They're down 2 at the half. High scoring game. You want to get 3.5? I'll take the 3.5 with Troy. I think they would. In fact, I'd probably grab them on the money line, Joe, at plus 146 if you want to play the hedging game. Down 2. They're giving you a halfway decent number, which a game that was basically pick 'em. So, I take a flyer on Troy. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's a great way to go there with Troy. I got them earlier, but I'm going to double up because I love that plus 146 price that we're getting. I do think this one still keeps cruising over that total, though. I would look at it to go over 163.5 live right now. You're going to have to lay minus 108 on that over, but I don't see this game slowing down, Scott. We've already got, 44 points in the first, or 84 points in the first half. I do think it continues at that pace. Furman's also in action here. Did you do anything with Furman? They've got 13 minutes left in the second half. They're up 54-48. That total, I thought, probably would have been a little bit higher, but we're not seeing those points come in as fast. That one has a total of 153.5, Scott.
Yeah, I kicked myself with this one, Joe. We're prepping for the show, and Wofford, they had a double-digit lead. They were up like 14 points early on. Yeah. And again, another game that was close to pick 'em, evenly matched situation here. And Furman was getting like 8.5, 9.5 points. And I'm like, man, that's a big number. I was all set to click, and then I got distracted. Vinny calls me, he's looking for advice on this and that. No, I'm just joking. I got distracted. Whatever. And then literally like 3 minutes later, because they went to a timeout, they were down. I think it was 14. I'll double check, but it was double digit. It was a decent number. And like 2 minutes after they came back from the commercial, Furman went on this like 9-0 run, and all of a sudden it was a 2 or 3 possession game, and all the value went out the window. And in fact, they came all the way back and actually led at halftime. So if you played any halftime bets, if you had Wofford as a halftime money line bet, you're up 20. I was 28 to like 13, something like that. It was, but Furman came all the way back, and now they're up 4. Now they're laying 3.5. But I did like them. It's funny, even now at 3.5, it's still a pretty good bet, but I can't get over the fact I could have had them like 10 minutes ago at plus 8.5, 9.5. It's like, wow, what am I doing? So.
Yeah, I would have totally jumped all over that if I saw that as well, Scott. I can't believe I missed that in the lines. So looking at it, there's so much action tonight, though. It's hard to all of a sudden spot a game like that if you're not dialed straight into that board. So good call by you. I wish you were able to get the bet in on that, but it's 2.5 right now. I'd lay the 2.5 to 4.5. It just jumped to at -102. So I think you're safe, probably laying 5 points in total, Scott. I wouldn't go any higher than that, would you?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. Yeah, especially since we could have had him getting points, and now we got to lay points. So yeah, probably 4.5 would be the limit. I wouldn't go much higher than that. Because that should be a close game down the stretch, but just sometimes you kick yourself on what should have, could have been. So Townsend's down 9 now, so they're going to lose. Delaware, how does that happen? Like Delaware is 5-13. I mean, and you look and you see, they're in not last place and not next to last, third from last place. Wow. They stink. They did win 3 in a row heading in, well, because you're counting the 3 games in the tournament. So, but they did play. I will say this: they did play Troy, or they did play Towson tough in the regular season, both matchups. But still, you would think, a team that's 14-2 or 16-2 in conference play would win it. But all right, they won't. So, how about that? So Delaware will go to the finals, and they'll take on the winner of the UNC Wilmington Charleston matchup, which starts next. I do like Wilmington in that one. That they're laying 4.5. They're the second best team in the conference. You would think their eyes would be all lit up knowing that they're going to face, a mediocre at best Delaware team, Joe. So give me Wilmington laying 4.5 tonight.
Yeah, definitely a short price for Wilmington there. There's a total 148.5. Any thoughts on that, Scott? I don't think it goes over.
What the first game? First game ended up going over because it went all the fouling in the end. So if the first game went over, give me the under in the second game. We'll go the other way, under 148.5.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play 2 different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back in-game live game day on the grid. Yours truly, Scott Wetzel, Joe Madden, until 10 p.m. Eastern time. Hour number 1, 24 past the hour. You know what time it is. SGP same game parlay time. All right, Joe, I'll go first. I'm going to use an NBA game tonight. You know what? We're finding all these reasons, or at least I am, to not bet against Dallas. You know, it was a rivalry game. It was the face of the team that's playing 2 games in 2 nights. You know, you're getting a monster spread. All these goofy reasons. Bounce back. We got blown out by 30 the last game. Teams always bounce back from that. And yet, here we are as we go down the line. They're 0-3, straight up and against the spread since Kyrie has gotten the season-ending injury. And every single game has been decided not by double digits, but by 9 points or more. So they've gotten blown out. This is another case tonight where it's like San Antonio. I mean, the Spurs stink, right? They're god-awful. No more, because Dallas is going to lose again, and we're going to be kicking ourselves saying, again, we're finding reasons not to bet them. And that's what the boys in Vegas want you to do, right? They don't want you betting against a lousy team. They know this team stinks. So I'm going to suck it up. I'm not going to lay the 6.5, but I am going to take San Antonio money line minus 255. If this was a Thursday or Friday and we were playing with house money, I'd probably lay the 6.5, but I'd like to get a winner in our belt on Mondays, play with house money the rest of the week. So we'll go conservative and just take San Antonio money line minus 255. I think we're going to go over the 231. So let's go over 231 Dallas San Antonio. De'Aaron Fox, 20 points for him against this Dallas team that's not trying, with no point guard, nobody to guard him. He should get that. He'll certainly get 6 assists. I don't have any problem about that. He's a big assist guy. And then we'll go on the other side, Klay Thompson for Dallas, who's basically left to himself. I think he'll get 15 points, in a game that, figures to be right around 230. That's your over-under. So Dallas should get about 115 or so points. I'm figuring he's going to get 15. Add it all up. Spurs money line, won't get greedy. Over, De'Aaron Fox, 20 points or more, 6 assists or more, and then Klay Thompson, 15 points or more, over 6-1.
It looks like a great parlay, Scott. Over 6-1. Nice bet there. I'm going to tail that one for sure. I love De'Aaron Fox tonight. I think he's in for a nice big night out there on the court. I'm going to turn to the matchup between the Trailblazers and the Golden State Warriors. I'm looking for a big night out of the Warriors and Steph Curry, and I think we're going to be able to get it. My first leg of the parlay will be the Golden State Warriors laying the 12 points. I know it's a lot of points to lay, and I know how strong the Trailblazers have been at covering the spread on the second night of a back-to-back, but then you look at them versus the Golden State Warriors. This is a team they've covered, or they struggled to cover that spread, only covering in 2 of the last 7 meetings versus the Golden State Warriors. So I'll lay the 12 with the Warriors, and then I'm going to look at Steph Curry for a big night out there, taking Steph Curry over 27.5 points in this matchup. Now, it's a little juicy to bet it outside of the parlay, but Steph Curry has been on absolute fire, and I'm expecting him to be able to hit nicely from deep in this one. I won't be surprised if he gets 5-6 balls in from downtown in this matchup. So nicely clearing us over 27.5. I think you could also ult him outside of the parlay to 30, 35 plus points in this game. And then I'm going to look at Draymond Green here for his assists. He's been so strong at getting those assists on the board. I'll take him over the 7.5 assists. You're going to get that at minus 125. Now, over his last 5 games, in all of those games, he's been able to get 8 assists on the board or more. And I do think this is another night where he gets those assists, feeding Steph out there. So let's go 3 legs here, coming in at plus 416. Again, it's the Warriors laying 12, Steph Curry over 27.5 points, and Draymond Green over 6.5 assists.
All right. That's not too bad. I do like Golden State tonight. So I think the Trailblazers, they had that great run, but then they've come back to the pack here a little bit. They turned back into the Portland Jailblazers, as we like to call them. So, okay, nice 4 and change to 1 on your parlay. Not bad. Got some interesting NBA scores. Celtics lead. All right, that's not a surprise. They lead by only 4. That's a surprise. And maybe even the biggest surprise to me is they lead the Utah Jazz, who are horrible. We all know that. 48-44, final minute of the first half. Only 48 points for the Celtics in the first half. Jaylen Brown's playing. Holiday's playing. Yeah,
Right?
Porzingis is not playing. So, you get Tatum's not playing. Forgetting Tatum. So 2 of the big boys are out, but still, you would think the Celtics would have more than 50 points basically at halftime. Rob Vecchio will join us next. We'll do some hockey talk on here in the Grid.
Philadelphia 76ers is they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Hi, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe Madden until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Got a little college basketball, a little NBA. We got 4 hockey games tonight, and who knows, maybe even delve into all the NFL crazy moves that happened today as the GMs play Dumb and Dumber in my eyes. Let's bring in our first guest of the evening, do a little NHL, maybe a little more with our good buddy Tom Vecchio, who you see and hear all the time here on the grid. What's going on, Tom? How are you tonight, bud?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. We just saw the Oilers tie the game up. Obviously, they are fighting for every point they can get. Obviously, the Sabres are trying to break this losing streak that they're on. They look terrible. And, you know, I'm really, really interested with this Wings-Senators matchup. I was not anticipating a ton of scoring just because of how important this game was for both teams in the standings as they're fighting for literally every single point they can get. And we are 0-0 after one. So let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, these are 2 great games out there on the ice, Tom. Looking at both of them here, I know you like the under between the Red Wings and the Senators, but is 4.5 getting too low? And then what would you look at between the Edmonton Oilers and the Buffalo Sabres? Do you think the Sabres have the opportunity of pulling off that upset?
So 4.5, I think, is fine, considering we haven't seen a ton of attempts. So let's just take a look at the Oilers. You know, I don't mind the Oilers 3-way money line, which means they have to win in regulation. So it's 215, minus 215 that is on the money line. It's minus 110 to win in regulation. So I think that's a pretty fair price for me. I feel like if you don't have action on the game, I don't mind jumping in there. 4.5 though for the other game, I think is solid. We're not seeing a ton of chances. You know, some shots from the outside from the Senators defenders. Jake Sanderson got a couple on net. I'm not expecting this to be a fast back and forth game, despite what you would think historically with these defenses, like, oh, this game's going to end 5-3. We don't know who's going to win. I think they're actually playing this really, really tight just based on the fact that they both want 2 points out of this desperately.
Yeah, that's what I thought, Tom. You know, Joe and I were talking earlier. Ottawa is 11-1 over its last 12 games. Yeah. Detroit is 7-3 over their last 10, and they were giving us 5.5. This to me should have been 6.5. But as you point out, and Joe's point out, nothing after one. So the boys in Vegas must have known what they were doing.
Yeah, it's we're getting to that time of year where I love the last 20 games of the season, which is essentially where we're at, where we know, like, teams, I love betting money lines at this point because, like, we know teams need to win. Teams need to break losing streaks. So if we want to roll this over to one of the games upcoming, that would be the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I have them on the money line tonight. I said this morning on the early line with Ben and Donnie. Really, really like the Maple Leafs for a couple of reasons. A, they're only a point ahead of Tampa, so they want to hold on to the 2 seed. I don't think they'll cash Florida, but they want to hold on to the 2 seed, which would give them home ice. Not that it matters for the Leafs in the playoffs, but still holding on to the 2 seed. They're also on a 3-game losing streak, and they're coming off an embarrassing loss against the Avs, where they took back the lead in the first, and then they get smoked the rest of the game when McCarr and McKinnon are going crazy, giving up 7 total goals. So give me the Leafs on the money line. Like, it is time for them to bounce back. They are better than Utah, despite the fact that we have concerns about the Leafs long-term in the playoffs. They're simply better than Utah.
They definitely are a better team than Utah, and Utah has been a favorite in a lot of their games as of late coming out of this break. Were you shocked, though, we were able to get the Leafs at such a nice price? Like minus 118 for the Toronto Maple Leafs on the money line just isn't a price that we get a lot of the time. And I know they've lost their last 3, but they seem to always put this team so highly juiced on the lines, right, Tom? So yeah, I kind of looked at it as maybe it's a trap. I don't know. What do you think of that?
You know, I want to buy into the Leafs at least having like some amount of pride as from a team level. I know they made a bunch of changes with the lineup and the trades. They got Scott Lawton in there. They have to, get him fully situated. I think they still have this the top end talent to win games, and that's what it comes down to. And what we've seen from Utah, I think is good, but it's not great. They're trying to make a push for one of the last wild card spots. I don't think they'll get there. I'm simply trusting the Leafs to be the team that we expect them to be from a talent level, regardless of what the money line may indicate.
All right, how about this? I know everything points to Colorado. They're a minus 530 money line against Chicago. You get the Blackhawks plus 390. Plus a goal and a half at plus 152, or even 2 goals is only minus 130. I know all the trends say Colorado. The 3-20 last 23 are the Blackhawks on the road. 5-13 their last 18. But here's where I'm going to flip the switch, though, Tom. They're 3-2 their last 5, with one of the 2 losses coming in overtime, and the other one being a 1-goal game. I mean, I don't know if they can win outright, but I wouldn't have any issue. I told the guys, grab 2.5 goals minus 130. I think this is going to be a close game, and I wouldn't be surprised. Chicago's playing some pretty good hockey lately.
So are you saying to bet Chicago team total, implying that they're going to score goals regardless of the Colorado scoring? Because I see Chicago over 2.5 goals at plus 148.
No, I'm saying instead of, normally you get a goal and a half, you could bet Chicago getting 2.5 goals.
Oh, okay, on the alt puck line. Okay.
On the alt line. Yeah, the alt line. Yeah.
So I see minus 132. That's not a bad bet. So, I mean, we could build in a little bit of correlation where the Avs don't hit their team total. They don't hit over 4.5 goals, which is an insane line. The game hits the under. And the only way the Chicago keeps this close is if the game does hit the under. Because we know the Avs can put this game over by themselves, essentially, if they're recent scoring. So I actually don't mind that if you're going to be on the side of the under. Because if the Avs win this game, 3-1? Like, that's what Chicago has to do. They can't let McKinnon and McCarr get out there and run.
Absolutely. Now, do you think Spencer Knight was the right answer for the Chicago Blackhawks? He's played 2 games so far for them here, Tom. And in those 2 games, he's got a 1.95 goals against average and a .951 save percentage. Can he keep up these sort of numbers? That's pivotal in tonight's matchup.
Yeah, I would like to think so. If I remember correctly, I think he was a top 10 draft pick or top 12 draft pick, and he hasn't enough playing time. He's sent back down to the AHL, and Bobrovsky has obviously been amazing over the past few years. I think it comes down to the team in front of him. I think Spencer Knight has the talent, but if there's not enough talent in front of him, he's going to be left hung out to dry, and he's going to have to save the team by himself, which will never work for any goalie. So I think the talent in front of him will dictate if he can at least maintain some of these numbers.
What do you think it's going to be like in Boston tomorrow? Brad Marchand and the Florida Panthers. How crazy is that coming to Beantown tomorrow night?
So he's not going to play because he's still injured, but it's certainly very interesting.
Right, yeah.
And when it comes to the Panthers overall, I think their numbers not great right now to win the Cup, to win the East. Everyone's saying they have a great team, and Ekblad just got suspended today for 20 games. So everyone's like, oh, well, the Panthers, once Tkachuk is healthy, once Brad Marchand's healthy, you're betting on a number, expecting them to be healthy, and then expecting them to just snap their fingers and put it all together, once the playoffs start, which is bad. You're betting on a bad number, expecting everything just to fall into place. So I would actually wait until they're healthy, because we just don't know. And it may not work out. Like even if they were all fully healthy, it may not work out. Getting to the Cup for a third year in a row is incredibly hard.
Yeah, it definitely is. Are you a buyer on the Dallas Stars, do you think, with that addition of Mikko Rantanen, they have the ability to hoist the Cup this year?
Yeah, I've been a big Stars believer for a number of years now. I think the West runs through Dallas and Colorado, despite the fact that I have a future on Winnipeg, which I got at 20 or 22 to 1 in the early portion of the season when they started off like 17-0 or 17-0-1, whatever it was. They have their troubles in the postseason. We know that. Connor Hellebuyck is absolutely amazing. So I have a future on them. I also do have a small piece on the Stars. I got that number before it moved at about 8 or whatever it was before it's dropped down to 6 with the trades that they made. So I think the Stars, it's their year to put it together. I think the Stanley Cup winning team will absolutely come from the West this year.
They offer up will Ovechkin get to $8.95. Joe and I have been following that, and Joe's got it already. Would you hop on board? It's minus money, minus 225. No is plus 165. What's he need? 7 more, I think it is.
Yeah, I think you can also bet on the strength that the goal comes on. You can bet on even strength or power play. I would bet on power play, like doing his thing from the dot, and it's just I don't want to lay the minus money. So just go for the power play. That's the fun way to get it.
You can also bet who
don't they close out the season? Yeah, don't they close out the season with back-to-back games against Pittsburgh, I think, or Columbus?
Something like that.
One of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can bet who's going to do it against as well. Tom, great job, man. I appreciate it. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Again, thanks to Tom Vecchio joining us. You hear and see him all the time here on the Grid. You know, back to the Great Eight, Gretzky here, or Gretzky, Gretzky in essence. The Ovechkin situation here, Joe. He needs 9. I thought it was 7 or 8. I'm surprised it's 9, but stats are saying he needs 9 goals in 18 games. That's a lot of goals. You know, if you want to bet the no, you're getting plus money now, plus 165. That's a pretty good return. The only thing is I'm looking at Washington's schedule, right? man, you want to see a bunch of really good teams, a bunch of teams, playing for playoff spots. So they're going to take all these games seriously down the stretch. I must say, they got Anaheim, they got San Jose, they got Philadelphia, they got Boston, which is dead. They got the Blackhawks, they got the Islanders twice, they got Columbus twice, which at the end of the year, might mean something. They got Pittsburgh to close out the regular season, but they got 8, 9, 10 games against clubs that are really playing for nothing that, maybe they could put, 4 or 5 goals on the board, win the games, get those empty netters. So, but I take a chance. 9 goals, but it's a lot. You want a hat trick and you're right there, but I don't think he gets 9. I keep on saying he's going to get. He's got 3 goals in his last 5 games, but I would take a flyer on the no at 165. I really would.
Oh, Scott, we want history to happen. How can you bet the no at plus 165? We want to see. Right?
They close out against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Okay.
So I would bet the no at plus 165 and then bet Pittsburgh he's going to set the record at 12-1. Just a little nibble to kind of hedge my bet because all the Sidney Crosby stuff, and it would just be like sports to have him set the record. He could be 2 or 3 behind. Pittsburgh's playing for nothing. They could roll over and just say, here, go ahead and take it, kind of like they did with Albert Pujols. So I that's what I would do. I'd take Penguins to win, or be the team he sets it against, and heads out against the actual no 165.
That's an interesting way to take it. I think he gets it, Scott. I'm thinking of what goaltender he has played most against and which goaltender he's really had that strength against as well as a different angle. So I'm going to look at that schedule because if you think like he's got a big rivalry between one of those goalies, right? We could look at that as well, right. But it's probably coming against Sid. You're right. Like the storyline against Sid, that's going to be fantastic. I'm sure Sid would skate straight up to him and give him a hug as well. Right? Like, you're going to see something pretty cool out there if it is against Sidney Crosby.
Yeah. Let me do my calculator. Hold on. He needs 895. He's at, 886. Yeah, 9. He needs 9 more goals. I thought it was 7, but that's a lot. It's a lot of goals. But if anyone obviously can do it, it would be him. So, well, I just hope teams don't roll over and just go ahead and give him the goals. That's all. But all right, something to ponder there. And the 2, Edmonton, Buffalo. Right.
Yeah, they will, Scott. They're going to let him get that. Everyone wants to see him break that record, right? Except probably Wayne Gretzky, right? Wayne's probably sitting there going, come on. No, you can't take it. I think Tom is onto something, though, on the power play, because it will be, like, so sweet if he gets it on the power play. It's coming in at plus 150. Over the even strength, it's minus 220.
What do they give for an empty? I don't see that bet on FanDuel. So what do they give for an empty netter? Yeah, they only give Willie.
They got the shorthander. So the shorthander coming in at plus 10,000. But I'm not seeing, there is the empty netter. So the empty netter is just in another spot there. So the empty netter coming in at plus 350 for Ovi to get it that way, which actually isn't a bad bet because you're looking at if he's up or their team's up. We saw him set up yesterday in that position where they were able to feed him that puck. And it wasn't actually really like a big feed of him, but the empty netter would be in play. I'd rather take the empty netter or the power play over the shorthanded. We know Ovi can score on that shorthanded, and he's going to be so hungry when he's 1 goal away from passing it. It's going to be interesting here, Scott. So the empty netter coming in at plus 350. The no on the empty netter is minus 530. Of course, I wouldn't bet that. And then that power play at plus 150. But there's so many ways that you can take this, you guys, for Ovi and how he's going to do it. And I really think it is coming this season. If you want to take the no to it happening this season, again, like Scott said, that's at plus 165. You can also look at those teams. I love the storyline behind the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's coming in at plus 1,200 if you guys think he's going to score it in the game versus Sidney Crosby. So plus 1,200, Scott, against the Penguins. We could do that. So, or we have Columbus plus. I don't think it comes against Columbus, and we look at that schedule, and I think there's a couple of different situations. You can also look at who he could have the assist by, which I think is interesting. Strome has been assisting him on a ton of these plays. And then we look at Carlson. Carlson's ability to get those assists is fantastic. Now he's coming in at plus 400, where Strome is minus 140. So you're getting a lot more value there with John Carlson, but definitely a lot to look at on the ice for Ovechkin when he's going to break that record. I'm not like Scott. I want to see it broken out there, but turning back to these games going on right now, we're still seeing the Edmonton Oilers Buffalo Sabres, Scott. They're going into the third period, tied 2-2 apiece. Are we going to get more scoring? The books think so. The over 6.5 is coming in at minus 160. It is so highly juiced to that over, but I could see it going over that total. And we're seeing finally a 3.5 between the Red Wings and the Ottawa Senators. So that 3.5 is juiced. It's minus 140. I still think, you guys, this could stay under the 3.5. I'm hoping 1-1 going into overtime. I got that overtime bet. And let's just see if you guys can still jump in on that overtime, because the overtime in this one is so pivotal. Could we see 0-0 going to OT? We might be able to. It's plus 250 right now for this game to go to overtime. When we were coming into the game, I believe it was right around that plus 340 mark. So if you guys can still jump in at the overtime bet at plus 250, I think it is a great way to go. But we're going to keep you updated with these games as well as everything that's happening out there on the hardwood. Got nothing back after the quick commercial break, so don't go anywhere.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number one as we close it out with what we always do. Hour number one, 54:55 past the hour. Black Cloud Play of the Day. Well, I'm surprised with this line. I really am. I don't like playing at the bad lines, Joe, but we're going to go to the college basketball scene. We're going to use Gonzaga in the WCC semifinal against San Francisco over 153.5. I thought this was going to be close to 160, if not in the 160s, as most Gonzaga games are. The fact that it's not even an upper 150, it's only 153.5. They played earlier this year. It hit over 160 points, the best of them, a monster game for San Francisco, as they probably won't get an at-large bid, so they need to win this one and probably win in the finals as well as against more than likely St. Mary's. So I think we're going to get some points. I don't think San Fran, which figures to be losing, will ever give up, which means fouling in the end. So well, I love over 153.5. I really do. Been on fire with our Black Clouds. We did lose the last one on Saturday with the Dookie Pukies in North Carolina, which should have, famous last words for a gambler, I know. It really, North Carolina team just shut it down second half and didn't score. So that broke a 9-game winning streak with our Black Clouds. But back to the board we go. Over, Joe, 153.5 San Fran Gonzaga. What do you think?
I love that you're going over in that one. When I saw what your Black Cloud was for today, I got excited, Scott, because I had already put that bet in the over 153.5 as well. Now, I do think Gonzaga, on the other hand, covers that spread. I'm going to lay the 14.5 with them. You look at this team and you look at their ability to get these wins by double digits. And I know San Francisco is going to be working so hard in this game to try to get the win. I just don't see them being able to do so. So I love where you're going with that. High scoring game, Gonzaga for the cover as well.
All right, there you go. So let's keep our fingers crossed on the Zags. I'm going to have some fun tonight, Joe. Why not, right? It's a Monday. I need a playing partner here for the Chicago Blackhawks, who I'm not going to take 2.5 goals as we could. I won't get too greedy and have them win regulation, but I'm going to grab the Blackhawks to win plus 385 against Colorado. I want to get a playing partner. I want to get a parlay here. Where are we going to go? Toronto, Utah, under, one of the in-game line, one of the games that are going on right now, but plus 385 is not enough. If I'm going to be sitting at a 4-1 winner, I got to get at least more than that. Where should we be going?
Well, I've gone a couple ways with these late night hockey games. So first, I'll give you a playing partner if you do like Chicago. I do think Utah is live. The Utah Hockey Club here versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't trust the line here for the Leafs at minus 118. It feels trappy to me. And you look at Toronto, they're trying to avoid their fourth straight loss, which will be the first time this season, if they lose tonight, that they've lost 4 in a row. So it's pivotal for them to get back on track to get the win. But you look at Utah, and Utah coming out of the break, I haven't been a big buyer on them because I haven't trusted them all season long. But Utah's been turning things around. And you look at the 5-on-5 style here for scoring out of Toronto, out of that break, they just haven't been getting it done. So they've been struggling. On the other side, Utah has been getting these goals. So I do think Utah is live to get the win. When I look at the Chicago Blackhawks versus the Colorado Avalanche tonight, I'm going to play around with this game too. I do think we could see Chicago struggle to score on Blackwood, but I also am looking for the Colorado Avalanche to struggle to score on Spencer Knight as well. I don't think they blow this one to the over. I think this is an under 6.5 style game. So I'm going to look at both of these teams for their team totals to the under. Chicago's team total to the under is coming in at minus 182, though, for the under 2.5 goals. And then we look at Colorado, they're coming in under 4.5 goals at minus 148. So I can't bet either of those. I think that old puck line could be an interesting look, but I don't love it. I'm going to go with an exact goal total here. I will go for 4-2 exact score. That's coming in at plus 1,600, Scott, for the exact score, 4-2 for the Colorado Avalanche. So, well, I wish you the best with the Blackhawks. I just can't get there.
All right, I'm gonna get real greedy. I'm gonna go Blackhawks plus 385, under 6.5 Blackhawks game, and your Utah Hockey Club, 14-1. Michael Fiddle coming up next.
76ers is they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect, control, and defense. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into In-Game Live here on the grid. Joe Madden here with you with Scott Wetzel as we welcome in Michael Fiddle of the Action Network. Mike, how's your night going so far?
It is great. I'm watching the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. So it's like a Western Conference Finals preview. So hard to complain when you got this going on in the association.
Absolutely. We got a ton of games going on out there. What did you like going into the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder game?
I actually liked OKC, and now looking at the way this game has gone and the live bets that are available for it, I would still play OKC. Oh, wow. In the last 30 seconds, they just jumped out to an 8-point lead. It was literally tied a minute ago. And so now playing 11.5 on the live number for it is the wrong direction. However, if this goes back the other way, if Denver does find themselves on a little run, then I would go buy OKC, especially going into the halftime and coming out of the second half. They are a dominant third quarter team. It's a sign of how strong their coach Mark Daigneault is. And watching this game, it was really just a lot of good shooting variance for Denver early and the other way for OKC. So I'm not surprised to see OKC come back and have a storming run as soon as I get on the show and want to give them out as a live bet. The number's worse than ever. So obviously I wouldn't play it now, but look towards OKC for the second half.
Now, how high is too high? Because we're looking at this number. It's jumping up as we speak, 254.5 is that live total. Would you at some point go under, or are you expecting these teams to go back and forth up and down the court?
I do expect this to go up and back, a lot of heavy pace, a lot of great offense on both sides. OKC is a fantastic defense, but Denver just moves the ball so fast. They try and push in transition. I'm kicking myself for not playing the over before the game and saw it start off to a blistering pace early, and I was just like, I missed a good number here. I would not go resist this number and play the under. I would avoid it. I would skip this. I would look towards the later games, which I think there's a great angle for. So save your money here and invest it in the New York Knicks tonight.
Okay. What do you think of the LeBron-less Lakers losing to the Brooklyn Nets, albeit on the road, like 64-63? Basically pick them right now, -1.5 for LA.
Yeah, I think LA ultimately comes back and wins. I don't really know if Brooklyn wants to win. They're now 5 games out of the play-in race. It looked like maybe they could flirt their way into the back end of that play-in race and get that 10 seed, but it is not going to happen with the Bulls actually coming out well after the trade deadline and being a cover machine. So Brooklyn is well coached. So I'm not surprised to see them cover. I would have taken the Brooklyn plus 6.5, 7 earlier today, but looking at a live Lakers minus 1.5 in a 2-point game, I'd say that's a no-brainer to go LA. Luka did hurt his ankle earlier in the game, and then he ended up playing through it. So I do think if you're looking like live props angles and you're looking for a big Lakers fourth quarter, look to Austin Reeves, because we know that what Reeves did when, D'Angelo Russell was traded and it was just him alongside LeBron. Luka's a pretty similar player to LeBron. So Reeves alongside Luka should probably initiate a lot of the offense. He's been under Redick's system for a long time. So with like the rebounds and assist props and all those other external usage props for Austin Reeves, I think could be really good even in a live market.
Yeah, great look at Reeves there. I love looking at him for his 3-pointers in a lot of these games as well. Now, you threw out the Knicks. You teased us with the New York Knicks coming up later tonight. They are laying 2 points versus the Sacramento Kings. Is that where you're going to go with them?
Yes, absolutely. Love the Knicks in this spot. Now, everyone's going to say, but they don't have Jalen Brunson. How are they going to do it? This is just as much of a fade the Sacramento Kings as it is a buy the New York Knicks. So I'll explain it both ways for you guys. Fading the Kings, it's a terrible travel and rest spot for Sacramento. They played in overtime last night versus the LA Clippers. And I know those are both California teams, but Los Angeles is in SoCal and Sacramento's in North Cali. So that is a flight home after an overtime game that went longer, and you're still missing your best player in Domas Sabonis. So I think the Kings is just a terrible travel spot for them, a rest detriment for them. And then you look towards the Knicks and you say, okay, here they come without Brunson, but it is going to be one of the first games without Brunson. And there's this thing in NBA gambling called fallen star theory, where in that first game, when the star player's out, everyone else on the team knows they're getting more minutes. They know they're going to be relied upon more. They know that they're putting this film on tape, and this is actually a moment for them, so they are a bit locked in. They play very focused. They come out very aggressive, so I expect an early great start for the New York Knicks. If you want to play it as a first half or first quarter or full game, I really like it in all angles, so I think the Brunson news is totally okay. It's obviously not long-term, but in this situational spot, I absolutely love the Knicks.
All right. That line's got sucker written all over it. I still don't think the Knicks should be 2-point road favorites. I understand what you're saying, but man, that's a lot of love for a New York team without their best player. But okay, how about Golden State? Speaking of a strange line, not that it's strange, but 12 is a big number to be laying against Portland, which was playing great. Now they've kind of come back to the pack here a little bit, but still getting double digits. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a Portland team that doesn't really represent the Portland team that was so strong in January and early February. They're without Denny Avdia, whose nickname is now Turbo, one of the best nicknames in the NBA emerging for Denny Avdia in Portland. And Jeremy Grant, who's their veteran presence, is also out for this game. Then they're also on the second night of a back-to-back as well. It is a tough spot for the Portland Trailblazers. It is a steep number, a 12-point spread for a Warriors that are 11-1 with Jimmy Butler in the lineup. A nice little round 12 full circle moment. Warriors are nothing for me, but that's a hefty price.
Do you have any players either in these 2 later games or in any of the games going on right now that you did circle for props tonight?
I would look towards Mikal Bridges on assists and Karl Anthony Towns in rebounds, kind of fading the Jalen Brunson is going to be out of the lineup angle. You're going to ask Cat to do a lot more rebounding down low. You also have no Sabonis, who's one of the best rebounders in the NBA. And then you're going to ask Bridges to be a kind of lead creator. He's been in that role in the last year and a half when he was with the Brooklyn Nets. He didn't really thrive, but he's used to it, so he could take over. And the Knicks are going to have to turn the point guard position to Cameron Payne and Deuce McBride, and they're probably going to rely on Bridges or Josh Hart or OG Anunoby for a bulk of the usage. Josh Hart's numbers are completely priced out. Bridges is the angle to attack. You could still probably get 3.5 assists somewhere. That would be a spot that I would definitely get some action on.
Mike, let me go back to Golden State here for a second. They really have played great basketball since acquiring Jimmy B. You know, and I like him. Great, terrific player. I won't say great, but terrific player. But I didn't think the turnaround would be this strong. And how strong do you think it can be? Are we talking really challenging to go to the NBA Finals, or not really, not that good?
It's tough for me to say, Scott. I'm in the same boat with you. When this trade happened and everyone's reacting to the news, I was like, I don't really like this for the Warriors. I think it's better on the surface than it will be. Turns out I was completely wrong. It is way better on the court than it even is on paper. Jimmy Butler's playing like he's still worth 4 points to an NBA spread. When he left Miami, he was meaningless. Whether Jimmy Butler was in or out, I didn't care to move the line, and the books were doing it like half a point. Now it'll swing the price 3.5, 4 points. So we're being priced as prime Jimmy Butler is back in the NBA. So they're dangerous, but I ultimately don't think they're going to compete with OKC. I think OKC is such a level above everybody, and everyone's looking at them like they're too young. It's just a matter of time. Similar to Boston last season, they're just going to roll through the West, in my opinion, and then we're all going to put some respect on them. They just haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Mike, great job as always, man. Always appreciate a couple minutes talking NBA with you. Check out his work, Action Network. Action Network. There you go, actionnetwork.com. Mike, great job. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Philadelphia 76ers.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number 2. Thanks again, Michael Fiddle. Check out his work. ActionNetwork.com is the place to find Mike. So doing a little NBA with him, Joe. A couple of games here we didn't touch on with him. Before it was Boston, close game against the Utah Jazz. They weren't really giving you much of a discount. They were laying 17.5. Like, who could do that in an NBA game? And I think it lowered to like 13.5. But now Boston's leading by 22. So early fourth quarter, 91-69. Then now it's 22.5. So that even at 17.5 is blown by. I can't believe the Lakers tied with the Brooklyn Nets. I didn't realize that Luka hurt his ankle, but he's got 9 stinking points. Maybe that's why, but I would have thought Luka would have had a monster. With LeBron out, that's why you're here. You got to pick up the slack here. You don't want to give back everything you gained with this 8-1 streak or 9-1 streak, whatever it was, just because LeBron's not there to be losing some of these. You got to win against the Brooklyn. If you can't beat the Brooklyn Nets without LeBron, how are you going to beat the good teams without LeBron, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. So he's got to step up, but I do think Mike Fiddle made a good point about Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves, we can jump in live right now on him, Scott. He's got 8 points on the board. His total sitting at 13.5, minus 136 to the over. So you're going to have to lay the juice there, but I don't hate it because I do think Austin Reeves has that strong ability to get things done. Now, I wanted to check him for his threes. He's yet to get a 3 out there, and we can take him for over half a 3 right now. That's coming in at minus 112. I think I'd rather hit him for the points, but I do think he can sink at least 1-3 coming out here. So any players that you want to circle for the Lakers?
I already got some money on Goofy Luka, at 25.5, which I'm going to need a miracle. So, yeah, if Luka's not playing or, he's playing injured, it just kind of throws the whole team. Without LeBron, it just kind of throws the whole game for me out of whack. I am interested in OKC in Denver. I'll tell you, I've said this about the Cleveland Cavaliers. You find reasons not to bet them. Like last night, Cleveland was laying 7.5, 8.5, right, against Milwaukee with Giannis. The Greek Freak is really not Greek, and Damian Lillard both playing. Like, who wants to do that, right? If they end up winning by 10, they cover the number. There's always reasons not to bet. Oklahoma City tonight laying 9.5, 8.5, 9.5 against Denver, who they just crushed yesterday. So, how hard it is to win back-to-back games against any team, let alone a good team like Denver. And here's OKC, 73-67, leading by 6 at the half. Boy, 140 points. Joker's playing, or is playing. Porter's playing. Murray's playing. You got all the big boys in there for Denver. Like I said, you just you get all these reasons not to bet these teams, and yet all these teams do is just cover. So yeah. I would probably lay the 9.5 and go with OKC with that one.
Yeah, I think so as well, right? Like you said, it's hard to beat teams second night of a back-to-back playing each other, but I still think it's the right side here. I just don't trust Denver enough. I was looking at what Jokic had 4 points, 18 points out of him. That live number is 29.5 with the juice to the over at minus 125. Now coming into this one, I was going to look at his rebounds and assists, Scott. So I'm just trying to find where those rebounds and assists are coming in. I ended up not getting to the window with it because I wasn't too comfortable with the number. And I'm not seeing, Scott, are you seeing on here the combo bet so that I don't have to just add these live? I'm not seeing the combo bet. So I'm going to have to go into each one.
Yeah. I don't see it. Parlays, team props, yeah. Sometimes they usually do offer those in game. I was going to say sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but they do offer those in game. I'm a little surprised, especially a game at halftime, where you would think this would be the bets, what they would do it. But yeah, unless it's kind of hidden in there somewhere, you don't see it in featured.
So he has 9 rebounds, 4 assists. His number coming into this was 22.5 for his rebounds and assists. So I'm actually feeling pretty good that I didn't back the over 22.5 assists and rebounds combined, because at 9 and 4, he still can get there, but we had to lay juice on minus 120 to the over on that. So I'm happy I stayed off that. But Scott, do you think he still goes over 22.5 because he's got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14? Yeah, he's got 14. So he's halfway there, over halfway there.
Yeah. It's funny, Joe, and I don't think this is coincidence, but His total for for rebounds right now is 15.5. His total for assists right now, 8.5. Add it all up, what do you have? 23.5, 24 points. So is that coincidence, or I think more so they just keep it towards what the number was, or pretty close to it anyway. So I think he gets it. I'd be a little concerned with the assists, but I think he gets the rebounds. I do. And I think he hits the 22 or 23, 24, whatever number you get. I would go, if you could, do they allow you to parlay that? Let me see. On FanDuel anyway. Rebounds, parlay, Joker, now they don't. It's
Okay.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't with some of these bets. It's very weird. One's got nothing to do with the other. They're not correlated, really. I mean, one, it's same player. I get that, but I would think they would encourage you to parlay just because they think that he wouldn't be able to do both. But so you got to bet them separately. If I was going to bet them separately, I'd go over 15.5 rebounds, I guess. It's a lot of rebounds, though, 16 rebounds. But
ton of rebounds, right? Wow.
Yeah.
But you're right. That's where he's going to be able to hit it for sure. So you can't even bet him for his double-double right now, can you? Because how many points does he have? Yeah, I'm not seeing any double.
Or 18 points. Well, yeah, because you know why? Because he's one rebound away. So
yeah, there's no way that
they should be offering.
Yeah,
they should be offering you a triple double. That's what they should do. But out of the 10 assists, they got 20 the other night, right? The 30, 20, and 20. How goofy was that? How about the Indiana Pacers? We'll talk more about it when we come back. Down 19 against Chicago, getting 11.5 at halftime. I don't know. They would make a run.
They should. I didn't expect them to be this big of a difference right now.
Yeah, I think I'll take a flyer on the Pacers. We'll talk more about it when we come back.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number 2, taking a peek at the little NHL, little NBA, some college basketball. Do like this one play in college basketball. We'll hop back to that, Joe, here in a second as we bop all over the place. Pepperdine leads St. Mary's 18-15, 11 minutes left to go first half. Pretty high-scoring game for a St. Mary's team. This was 130, 136? It opened up at 133.5. Then it bumped to 136.5. It's at 143.5 right now. It's been a torrid pace back and forth. They're hitting every shot in the world. Some guy just banked a three from like 35 feet. He had no shot of making that right. So they're hitting everything now. My point is that doesn't continue, right? You don't get that kind of luck. I think you're getting a really good number here at 143.5. St. Mary's one of the major under teams in college basketball. The fact that it's a close game really helps the under to me. If it was a blowout, then you get points. No one's going to play defense second half. But so far, Pepperdine, which has been playing great, this is their fourth game in 4 nights for Pepperdine. St. Mary's hasn't played in 8 days. I mean, so they were a monster 19.5-point underdog. I took a little flyer on them, figured why not. So they're leading. I don't know if they actually win the game, but it's down to 13.5. But more importantly, like I said, I do like the under 143.5. I think that's a pretty good number. Right now, St. Mary's is being told that timeout in the court, and no doubt they're being read the riot act about how they've given up 18 points in less than 9 minutes. So I like the under 143.5. Long story short.
Yeah, I like where you're going with that under 143.5. And I was like you, I took a chance on Pepperdine to be able to keep it tight just because of how St. Mary's does play that slower pace out there. So look for them to look to slow this game down. I think we might get this total a little bit higher in the next couple of minutes out here, Scott. I would take it, though, under the 143.5 at minus 108. I won't be shocked if we go up to like 145, 146. But I don't want to miss out on this number because I think it is a good number and it should finish closer to that original. But Pepperdine, can they get the win, Scott? Plus 870? I don't think they can, but I'm glad I'm holding a 19.5. If this drops to St. Mary's laying 10.5, I'll be coming back in on the other side.
Yeah, that I'd probably do. I 9.5 or so, then maybe I would buy into St. Mary's, but get myself a nice little, same with you, 8, 9, 10 point middle. You would think it would just be a matter of time before St. Mary's kind of kicks it into gear. But they say they don't really blow anybody out. That's why that 19.5 points was crazy. That was more, not that Pepperdine is any good. They're not. They're 13-21, 4-14 in conference play. I mean, they stink. But they're on the roll. I mean, we've seen it. We saw it with Delaware. Same thing. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen when you get these teams that just were atrocious in the regular season and for whatever reason are able to turn it on. That's why I don't like these things. You should be, you love these games, right? There's so many games. Yeah, I know most gamblers say that, but I'm more realistic about it. I'm like, I don't like them. They're on neutral courts. There's nobody at the arenas. There's no drama. There's no excitement. There's no bands. There's nothing. It's like playing in a mausoleum. So anything can happen under those circumstances. So it just leads to upsets. So let's see how low it can go. But right now I'm pretty happy with the situation. You're right. It's up to 144.5. It may go a little higher. But in the end, I don't think it gets to 140. So if you want to hold off, I get it. I do. But this pace is just too torrid for these two teams, for St. Mary's in particular. So Charleston and UMC Wilmington tied at 22. That's the Coastal Colonial / Colonial. Winner there faces Delaware. We were talking in the break because Delaware upsets the number 1 seed Towson. So the winner here is going to be a favorite, whoever it is. This is the second and third place team. Tied at 22. UNC Wilmington, slight little favorite, laying 3.5 over under 150.5 with 7.5 minutes left.
Oh, it's an interesting matchup here. We got that total as high as like 155.5 at one point, Scott. I was looking at that, not expecting that many points. At 150.5, I want to stay off that total. But did you play any overtime today? Because it looks like Robert Morris just closed it out in overtime here, 79-76 over Oakland. I didn't play any overtimes today in college basketball, but I know you're normally the king of it.
Yeah, I didn't. I usually reserve that for weekends for us, Saturday and Sundays. So, but I should have, because there's one, and you still need two. Maybe we would have gotten one in the NHL. But again, they don't. FanDuel anyway doesn't offer overtimes at all the college basketball games. But maybe these conference tournament games that they would. So, Buffalo is taking a 3-2 lead over Edmonton. Late third. Oh, this Oilers team is killing me. Just killing me.
Philadelphia 76ers, as they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, full slate of action tonight. Not a whole lot, but a little bit of everything. Little NBA, little NHL, and a little college basketball. Yeah, back to the NHL board here just for a second, Joe. It's just this goofy Edmonton Oilers team. I tell you what, you just can't count on. You thought, they're picking out a team that's in last place and has lost 6 in a row. And I get it, this might be their Super Bowl, so you get an honest effort out of Buffalo, but an honest effort has produced a last-place team. And here the goofy Oilers down 3-2 with 5.5 minutes left in the third period. So my Edmonton in regulation's in a whole lot of trouble, clearly.
Join the club of people who don't like the Edmonton Oilers, Scott, because this team has those classic letdown spots. It's like Toronto and, this Buffalo Sabres team always plays them hard. And this is why it's so hard to look at some of these favorites coming into these games to be able to get the win and find any kind of value. It's like Colorado. So looking at Colorado versus Chicago tonight, I know you went with the dog here in the Chicago Blackhawks. It did look like we saw a goal for Colorado and it got taken back. So we still have a 0-0 game in that one. Things have locked up between the Oilers and the Sabres. So, Scott, you might be lucky. Maybe they've tied it up here because I am seeing the Oilers on my TV we're behind the books and they're in their zone right now. So maybe the Oilers got a goal on the board.
All right. At worst, at least the power play, I'll take that for sure. So give them one last crack at this thing. So, all right. No, they didn't score. Fudge. Because now the Vandals got it -4-1. Jeez, now I think the power plays on the other side.
Yeah,
plus
maybe
285. I mean, I already got I've already doubled and tripled down, so I wouldn't do it anymore. But plus almost 3-1. You got 5.5 minutes left. It's the better team. Interesting. I got to play a little hunch on the over 3.5 I just can't get over the over. I can't get out of my system with Ottawa and Detroit. I know it's 1-0 after 2. Ottawa did score. I think it was relatively late second period, about 5 minutes or so. At least that's kind of broken the stalemate there. You get one more goal, whether it's Detroit or Ottawa. You need 3 goals, obviously, but you get $1.50. I think that just opens the gates here, and I think we get 3 goals. Whether it's an empty net or not, who knows? But I think we get 3. I'm going to grab the 3.5 plus 150, Joe.
Yeah, you're getting great plus money to that over there, and we could see it, right? You see that the Red Wings, they need this win just as much as the Senators do. The Red Wings can't go down 5 points to the Ottawa Senators when they only have one more matchup on the season and how tight these teams are fighting. So I don't hate it at all, Scott. You are on a power play right now for the Edmonton Oilers, I believe. Ooh. So, because I saw Buffalo go into the box, unless they were offsetting penalties out there where we saw both go into the box, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. No, Edmonton is on that power play. They've got 1 minute, 50 seconds to tie it up for you, but 4 minutes left in this game. So would you take a shot on the over 6.5? Because if they tie this up, we're going to OT. That's coming in at plus 108.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, if they're on the power play, you're getting plus 340 with Edmonton. That's not bad. That's a decent price on a team that's got a man advantage here. So I wouldn't necessarily go the over 6.5, because the only way you're getting 2 more goals is if Edmonton ties it. So if that's the case, I might as well take the plus 390 now on FanDuel versus the over 6.5. I will say my Colorado or my Chicago and under and Utah parlay is it's breathing here. No score, which is perfect. I'll take that. 7 minutes left to go. I got under 6.5. So if I can get through this first period with no score, won't necessarily have to sweat out the under. And now I just need the Blackhawks to score. So all right. Okay. I would take you would have told me beforehand we'd be 13 minutes in with no score. That's what I'm counting on. Is the kid in goal? Is the kid they acquired? Is he in goal tonight?
Yeah, Spencer Knight is in goal tonight. He's faced 3 or 7 shots from Colorado. Chicago's put up 3. And another thing to know, I can't pronounce the kid's name or remember it off the top of my head, but Chicago did bring up a defenseman from the AHL, and he's really solid out there on the ice, Scott. So that gives you even more reason to like Chicago tonight. I'm going to double check that he did make his debut, but all the talks was that he was coming out to make his debut and will be highly impactful out here for the Chicago Blackhawks on that defensive side. But gotta love what Spencer Knight has done. Like I said, in his 2 starts, that goals against average is under 2, and his save percentage has been so nice and high. But Edmonton's really pushing, Scott, to tie this one up for you. It's a crazy game. 4.5 set total now between the Blackhawks and the Avs. Wow. Oh, it just jumped to 5.5.
We don't want that. We went the other way. So maybe someone's on a power play. That's what I'm guessing. I got that. I got to try and find the Buffalo game here in a second. Toronto, Utah, top of the hour. So you said Utah was a live dog tonight. They're basically pick 'em. Toronto's slight favorite there. Toronto's another one of those teams that just gives you odds. These Canadian teams, Joe, I tell you, 7-3 under last 10 in the series. Toronto, though, is 5-1 over their last 6 road games, 6-2 over their last 8 overall. They play better on the road than they do at home. 13-5, last 18 road games. So Utah's a monster under team, 12-5 under last 17 at home. I got Utah, so I'm going to stick to my guns with that.
Oh, I'm so glad we're both riding with Utah here. You look at Utah outside of the Four Nations break, and they've been playing some of their best hockey, and Toronto just hasn't been getting there. So they've lost their last 3, Scott. Losing 4 in a row, if they lose tonight, will be the first time this season in doing so. But you look at their metrics 5-on-5, and they are basically right there with the Chicago Blackhawks on goals expected in their games out of this break. They just haven't been producing. And I know in that last game versus Colorado, they were still able to put up 4 goals, but that was kind of a rarity what we've seen for the whole out of this break. So I'm expecting Utah to be able to get things done. Vermalka is in net tonight. we did see Connor Ingram sent to the Players Association Assistance Program. That's what he was sent to. So you're not going to see him out of the ice for a while. Jackson Stabber will be out as a backup goaltender for Vejmelka. But I do think Utah, with how they've been playing, is a really nice bet tonight. I just don't trust Toronto.
Wow, Joe. Are you sitting down? Clearly you are. Because this next score is just mind-boggling. It really is. I don't think either one of us had a play on this one. But the Boston Celtics lead the Utah Jazz. Just to put it into perspective, Boston led this game 92-69, right, by 23 points, 92-69. It is now 109-104, and the Celtics just scored. It was 107-104. Celtics by 5 with a minute 20 left. In a game they were leading by 23 early fourth quarter. NBA is crazy.
It is fourth quarter, 35 points out of the Jazz for 19 for the Celtics. Come on, we got to take the Jazz straight up on the money line right now, right? They've got all the momentum in the world. It's worth my coffee money, and they just took it away. It was plus 2,000. They just took it off the board, Scott. I can't get it. Can you get it? I'll give you my coffee money. Put my coffee money on it. Come on, please. Oh, man.
No.
They're going to win now for sure.
You know, if the Celtics don't cover this, and I don't think they are at this point, right? They were laying 17.5. It's not like you were, had that much of a cushion. That's why you don't lay 17.5. And, you got to win you got to be up like 35 to really be able to cover the 17.5 just because of the goofy comebacks. But this Celtics team, they blew that big game, the big lead against Cleveland. They've done this before. They get distracted in the fourth quarter. It's just, I don't know what it is. They're up 8 now, so they're going to win, barring something crazy with a minute 7 left. But this was a one-possession game after being up 23 at home. Wow. All right, the Lakers are still losing. Cam Stewart coming up next.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
welcome back in Game Live. Game night, real here, game day. What game night on the group? We should change it to game night,
Yeah,
Vinny.
game night.
It's not game day.
Yeah, it should be game night, right? Why is
No,
it
it's
game
game
day?
night.
Not
Yeah,
daytime. It's
good call,
game night.
Scott.
Yeah.
Game night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's game night tonight. Game night sounds more like, hey, we're ready to go, right? Like it's game night.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, we'll talk to the brass. I don't know if they're going to use the change just from us saying so.
If they do, I want to get paid for that suggestion. Thank you very much. A little extra in the paycheck there. Bill them a few more hours. Took me 5, 6, 7 hours to come up with that one. So
we got to start trademarking some stuff if the wheels fall off our gambling, right? At least we got some monies to rely on. But good night, guys. Wow, yesterday was unreal. I wish I could encapsulate doing the shows with you guys every single day. I haven't had a night like that where like everything clicked. It was absolutely beautiful. But as Morency says, that was in the past. We got to move on to today, and we have action today. So what do we got going on here in college? I'll get a shot with Incarnate Word. They're down 1 to Nichols right now. This is my new team, Scott, plus 4.5 live. I love these guys. They grind and grind and grind, and I think they're going to win this game outright. I'd actually take a shot with plus 165 on the money line. I heard Joe brings up a lot of very good points. Do you trust the Maple Leafs? No, not really. I don't. Trust is such an important word with this club, but they've lost some games in heartbreaking fashion. Going into Utah, small favorite. I know, Joe. I know I'm a homer. I have to do it. I'm taking the Leafs tonight, Scott, but let's give Utah some credit. This team has been really good. You guys, I heard you talking about the Four Nations, and the Utah Hockey Club is winning, but the way the Leafs lost that game to Colorado, it's kind of like what I thought about Dallas, Scott. Remember, like we said, they're playing on a back-to-back or whatever. I don't care. I like the way they played in the third against Edmonton. And now you see Edmonton lay another egg to Buffalo tonight. This team is ridiculous. Like, who are these guys? Anyway, give me the Leafs tonight on the ice. I will take a shot. Colorado, what's going on there? Still 0-0? What were the Blackhawks? What are they? Plus, if I get a 2.5, I'd probably look at plus 2.5. But, man, Chicago's plus 300. I'll pass on that one. I have the Avalanche in a few parlays.
What do you think of Mitch Marner?
A little flyer on the Blackhawks. Go ahead, Joe.
What do you say, Joe?
It's okay. I was just going to ask you what you were thinking of Mitch Marner tonight for the Leafs, because if there's one player that I have faith in, Mitch Marner's been on fire.
He sure has. And you know what, Mitch Marner, they talk about him and the trade not wanting to go over it. The guy wants to play. I don't know what's going to happen, or maybe this is just smart business tactics at the end of the year. He's going to get a real good big deal from somebody. I'd like to see him stay in Toronto, but they got a lot of mouths to feed with that team. But I agree, Joe. Mitch Marner has been the best Leaf. He's playing well, setting up guys. He also has a dangerous shot. I'd like to see Mitch use his shot a lot more instead of, always trying to set up other guys on the team. I want to see him fire because he can. So excellent point, Joe. Mitch Marner to record like a goal and assist, maybe multi-point game. I do both. I think he's going to be a big part of the Leafs' success tonight. If they beat Utah, I would expect them to get 2 or more points in this hockey game. But I said it before too, I think Stolarz is a better goaltender than Wall, and hopefully that they play him in the playoffs because I just think Wall, he hasn't been very good. The whole Leafs team, Joe, you said it, they're a hard team to trust. They look great some nights, and then when they break down, they break down. Like that third period versus Colorado was absolutely disgusting. They had that game in check. They were playing well. Colorado scores, and they just fold like a cheap suit. That's the problem with these guys. They got to get mentally tougher. Basketball, Scott, are you looking at anything late tonight on the college hardwood for these late night games here?
Yeah, I tell you, I love Joe and I both love the over in the Gonzaga game. 153.5. They played earlier. It hit 160 and change. That was at a neutral site kind of anyway, where this game is 153.5 for a Gonzaga game. Man, and where do I sign? I don't care who they're playing. And San Francisco's a really good team too. So, and they're not going to give up. They're going to be fouling in the end if they're trailing like they figured to be because they're on the bubble. They need to win and then beat St. Mary's and more than likely in the WCC final to get an NCAA bid. So, yeah, I like to go over that one, Cam.
Am I getting played here? Because Gonzaga's been good to me covering big numbers, but 14.5 against the San Francisco Dons looks like a lot of points to me. I love it. Got to give Gonzaga credit. They really figured it out at the end before heading into March Madness. But I will say this, that's too many points to give the Dons. You saw what they did. They covered against the Beavers. They're a very good team, arguably the third best team in the conference behind St. Mary's and Gonzaga. But these guys can play. 14.5 is too many points. Scott, am I a sucker? They could have,
10.5. I feel like almost like they're trying to get me to get San Francisco money. Yeah, okay. I'll take 14.5 bowls of rice-a-roni, please, for San Francisco. Let's do it tonight.
You know what? They just beat them by 20 in that neutral site game. They played over at Golden State. It was off campus. So they won by 20, but it was a little bit closer than that. So I think they're taking that into account. But that was, look, they're better, but not 14.5. Exactly. And they haven't played it in almost a week and a half. Ooh, goal, Detroit.
The Red Wings are tying it up here. What do you Interesting. I got Detroit plus 1.5 and stuff, but I try. You know what? I got a weird feeling this game. I go, what would it overtime? We're already in the third. I'd make that bet right now, but it's probably. What do you think? What do you think, Joe? Do you think we can get there? We need a better number though.
I do. So I had overtime coming in. It was plus 340. Right now, if you want to jump in on overtime, it's coming in at plus 130. So the books are expecting that OT to be able to hit the nose minus 170. I think it will go there. So much to play for, right, Cam? Like this matchup between these two teams, the Red Wings can't lose this one. Neither team can afford to lose it.
It's really weird watching the Red Wings because they went through that span where they looked fantastic, and then all of a sudden they're like playing lousy again. Very unpredictable team, like a lot of teams in the East, like Ottawa. They look good some nights, and then other nights I'm like, these guys are slugs. What are they doing out here? But I'm with you. The price isn't right, but I do like the game to go to overtime. I have a feeling Ottawa will find a way to get it done, but it's not going to be easy, and I'm not going to lay 60 cents live with these guys. It's too much juice.
How about Sacramento? I know this has got sucker written all over it. I know they played in overtime last night, but they lost. I don't mind it as much. If they win, then it's like, ooh, we got our win. Who cares about the next game? But when you lose like they did to the Clippers last night, it just, for real teams, it just kind of ticks them off. How about Sac getting 2 against the Knicks?
I don't know, Scott. I kind of like the other side, to be honest with you. I got to see how these NHL games pan out. And I need more monies for the Players' Championship this week. Got to build it, right? You know me, sucker for golf losers. But anyway, we're going to have some winners this week. I can guarantee it. We hit the top 10s and 20s. Just need an outright.
There you go. Cam Stewart, top of the hour with Gabe Morency here on the Grid.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on the grid again. Thanks to Cam Stewart joining us as he does every night. He takes over along with the game at the top of the hour. SportsGrid Radio, SportsGrid TV. Got a few minutes here though. Last check of the board. We'll pass along. The Celtics did win. They didn't cover the spread. 114-108. Leading by as many as 23. Cruising against one of the worst teams in the NBA. You're laying 17.5. And they only win by 6. Even adjusted lines, if you lowered it to 12.5 or 10.5, 8.5, you didn't cover any of that. Oh, that's tough. Raptors win 119-104. They get their 22nd win. Boy, if they would have found a way to win that other game where the ball was just on the kids' fingertips, they would be even that much closer to getting into that final play-in spot. Hawks beat the Sixers by 9, 132-123. 76ers obviously are awful. And the LeBron-less Lakers down 2. Luka's got the 22. If we can get this to overtime, by over 25.5 points for Luka is in play. Lakers down 4 with 9 seconds left.
Yeah.
All right. Probably not going to happen, Joe. Yeah, not good. And nothing out of the Pacers tonight. They're down 17 early. They just started the fourth quarter. Haven't made a run. I thought maybe they would make a little bit of a run, be able to hedge. I grabbed them plus 11.5, but so far, nothing.
Yeah, I'm shocked. That's got a life total of 225.5, Scott. I don't think it gets there. You're going to have to lay the juice to the under, but it's coming in at minus 128. I think it's a solid way to go. And then look at the Nuggets in OKC. They are still putting points on the board. That total 257.5 now. I'd still go over.
I would. I mean, this is one of those situations where they just locked it up. But, they're giving you a 50-point basically fourth quarter. We're playing 75-point quarters the whole way, literally 75-point quarter. And now they're going to give you a 50-point fourth quarter. Now they just bumped it to 255.5, but you know what? That's still, NBA team. I'm gonna put it in. I know sometimes they slow it down. I get that, close game and all that, but it's a regular season game. And then maybe OKC. I know it's hard to beat a team back-to-back, but, boy, you can count on one hand how many losses Oklahoma City has at home, and that's where they are tonight. Although it's down. Now they're down 7, 106.99.
What about money line? Plus 154?
Yeah.
Like, if they're gonna cover that, they're going to win, I think, right? At plus 150. Oh, they dropped it to plus 134 right now as they're down 5. Man, missed that number, Scott.
Yeah, and the over-under is already up to 157. Like, they're not slowing down. Why would you think after running and gunning for 3 quarters? It's not a playoff game. It's a dopey, meaningless regular season game. Oklahoma City's got a 15,000-point lead, for first place. This game is meaningless for them outside of maybe, battling Cleveland, but they're not thinking about that. So you're going to get another 60-point fourth quarter. I wouldn't doubt it, really. I would think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm completely with you there. Can we hold on to what do you like?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's past. I liked Houston today. They were laying only 4.5 at home against Orlando. I know Orlando was coming off a win against the Magic, but that was, I know Rockets struggling a little bit, but that was too much of a, too much credit to Orlando. And the Rockets are up 18 right now, laying 14.5. Wouldn't necessarily do that, but just kind of reaffirm my original notion. So,
do you think that stays under the total 183.5? Scott, I can't get over when I see these NBA games so low in those totals. But Orlando's not doing much at all.
Yeah, what do you? We got 151 points. Yeah. 8.5 minutes left. Boy, that's you know what? That's what 33 points. With 8.5 minutes?
I don't want to touch it. Can you?
I think I'd take a flyer on the over. I think I'd take a little flyer on the over.
Right?
Yeah,
and come on,
190
points, right?
Yeah. They're not playing great defense in an 18-point game. Eventually that's going to stop, right? 4 minutes left or so. You get a bunch of points. Yeah, I'd take a little flyer on the over. I think eventually they get there. Dallas leads San Antonio, 80-77. SGP's in a little bit of trouble, but I need the over, so that's good. So it's a close game. And I took the Spurs on the money line. Another good example of, you grab the money line stuff. So the over 231.5, that's up to 251.5. So that's looking pretty darn good. So actually, my SGP might not be that bad, to tell you the truth. So,
Fingers crossed.
all right. No score, Blackhawks, Colorado entering the second period. Ooh, that would be a nice little hit, Joe. 16-1 parlay. Going out, do it all again tomorrow night, 8 to 10. We got Gabe and Cam coming up top of the hour. Talk to you tomorrow.